Well, before I get too far into the program, I'd just like to thank our sponsors for making it all possible today. So thank you to SAS Institute, Enterprise Networking Solutions, Colorado Group, Radiant Solutions, Commvault, and FireEye. Thank you. Just a couple more announcements. The next event, the next Techwire Forum, will be on October 31st on Halloween. That will feature the Department of Technology and the state's enterprise architecture program. We're going to have the state enterprise architect talking about the Enhanced California Architecture Framework version 2.0. So hope you can make it. Watch for the announcement on that. And then finally, I just wanted to let you know when you leave, be sure to grab one of our newsletters. This is hot off the press. This is something that we've started to do in print. It will be distributed. This is an advance copy of what will come out tomorrow electronically. It's got a great feature article by Joe Panora. So it's about the Psalms Project. So please pick one of those up on your way out. So to get started, our first speaker needs no introduction. Paul Benedetto is the Chief Deputy Director for the Department of Technology. He has more than 30 years of experience serving in state government, including serving as the Director of the Office of Systems Integration, and he's held a number of high-level technology posts throughout state government. So here to kick off today's program, Paul Benedetto.
Sorry, Joe. That's Joe. Oh. Sorry, Joe. Didn't have my glasses on.
Some things never change.
I know. Well. Who's that on the phone? Was it a good call? Okay, maybe not. I didn't mean to embarrass you. Actually, I did. And your name is?
Close that
Okay,
phone,
so we're not here to embarrass anybody, even though sometimes things like that happen. First of all, a big thank you to Bill and his team for putting this together. These are wonderful events. It gives us an opportunity to share with our partners, which is our vendor community. It gives you an opportunity to hear, so to speak, from a couple of the horse's mouths. And it gives us also an opportunity to share with you, hopefully, where we're going in the future. And just to hopefully change the perspective and change kind of the discussion that we have. I'm really honored that Joe asked me to do this because I wanted to, corrections is such a large customer of mine. We do so many things with Joe and with corrections. And when Joe asked me to do this, I really had to think. I didn't have to think too hard to do it, but I had to think long and hard about all the wonderful things that they have done in the past at least 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or the 7 or 8 years that Joe's been in AIO. And they've done some great things with technology. And they've done some great things because of the people in the room, of their staff, of our vendor partners. I mean, they've just incredible things. Psalms, Biz, the telephone project that they have. These are not small endeavors. These are some of the largest things we've ever done. And they've done it successfully. And they've done it not always not being in the paper, but they've done it so successfully that you barely hear a ripple when you come into the Department of Technology about the projects that Joe and his team are running. I asked Joe to provide me with a list of accomplishments that they've done. I'm just going to, I can't see with those. I'm just going to go over a couple of them just to let you know what they've been doing over the last year and a half, 2 years, besides getting sued. In 2012, they were the Information World Forester Honorable Mention for the Enterprise Architecture Program. They also got the best practice for the Digital State Survey for Public Safety, and that was presented to SOMS. In 2013, they did a little better. Joe likes to tell me because Chris Cruz didn't put any of his stuff in 2013. Is there any health and human? Maybe not. So in 2013 at NASCIO, they got the Business Information System finalist for improving state operations. State Information Officers Council Gold Award, the best newsletter. Like, who cares about that? But that's still pretty cool. The Digital Government Awards for the best of the web, and honorable mention, Government to Citizen State category. The American Council for Technology and Industry Advisory Council. SOMS was selected as one of the 25 finalists, and that's really cool because that's talking about excellence and innovation in the digital world. At GTC this year, they got the Project Excellent Award for the SOMS project. And those are just a couple, but the really cool ones that I thought were the best ones were the 2013 Government Technology CIO Top 25 Doers, which Joe received. And now that's a very large honor. Only 25 CIOs in the nation get that. And we were fortunate that we had 3 in California, and Joe was one of them. So Joe, big time congrats on that. And then Joe will tell you that a lot of the stuff he can't do without great leadership above him. And you know, I was privileged to be an undersecretary for a couple of years, and I worked with Martin Hosino. And Martin is a phenomenal leader, great visionary, and he also received the leadership award that we gave at the, I think it was the GTC just recently. So they have great leadership. Joe's a part of it. What they've done at corrections has been fantastic. And the last thing I'm going to say, because I don't want to, this isn't about me. Well, no, it's really not about me. It's about Joe. The last thing I want to say is that Joe and his group at corrections have been phenomenal partners for us. We have done a lot of great things in the last 2 years and really the last 5 years. And Joe has been a huge partner of us. He's been on everything I've asked him to do, whether it's the executive sponsor role, executive leadership role, helping me hand out hot dogs, that's an event. He's done that for me. So I just want to tell you how much I appreciate Joe and corrections and all the wonderful things they've done. And I'm really looking forward to hearing this conversation. So with that, Joe, thank you.
Stay here for a second. No. Paul. We want Paul to stay. Is it on? Can you hear me? Yeah. Cool. All right. So you guys know that Paul's retiring, right? No secret. This is his last public appearance in a forum. Yes. And he's officially gone on Monday. So could you do me a favor? Please stand and just give an applause for Paul. Thank you, buddy. All right, we'll get out of here. Cool, very cool. I too want to thank Techwire and Bill and the sponsors and all the other vendors that are out here. It has really helped corrections go through, I call, an IT transformation over the last several years. Without you, we couldn't have done it. I also want to thank the people that are not from the vendor community that are taking time out just to come and learn about corrections. That's pretty cool. So I told Bill we would do this only under one condition, if we had more attendees than Chris Cruz. So I want to thank you for that. Now, what are we going to talk about for 90 minutes? I have no clue. So we're going to talk about MSU. Do you know what that is? Making stuff up. All right. You can substitute the S for something else too if you want. Okay, so I have some good news in correctional terms for you. The good news is all of you have a release date. That's 90 minutes to 120 minutes from now. You get to leave this room. Okay? So we have a lot of information. You're not going to listen to me present the whole time. My Deputy Director, DeVoot's going to present. Paul Smith's going to present. Russ Nichols is going to present. I'm going to try to give you a little foundational understanding of corrections and then give you a little bit about kind of our IT and how do we make decisions in corrections and just kind of set the stage. DeVoot's going to come in and build on that and talk about the things that we accomplish on all the different lines of business, and talk about what we have underway and what we're working at and some of the emerging technologies that are out there, but we're still kind of keeping our eyes on it. We have two large projects. We have the Business Information Systems project. Paul, the program director over BIZ, Paul Smith will come up and talk about that. Then we have the Strategic Offender Management System, and that is a large offender management system. It's almost done this December, and Russ, the program director, is going to come up and talk about that. Then we'll open up for Q&A. Now, Paul kind of kicked it off and talked about the awards that we got, but you know, we all know awards are not for an individual. There's no I in team. It's all about your management team, your support system, the legislators, the governor's office, finance, DGS, Department of Technology. It takes a village. And it also takes all of the management supervisors and your technical staff underneath you. Without that, you wouldn't be successful. So what I want to do for a moment is I want to put some names and faces to my IT executive team. So I'm just going to have them stand up, turn around so you can see them. Albert Lawrence, since you're first here, he's our section chief over our infrastructure. Albert, come back this way. Very important guy. Scott McDonald, our security officer. Sandra Chamberlain, our application maintenance and support development. Caroline Bigelow, over our policy, over our PMO office, our resource utilization. You name it, anything that doesn't fit anywhere else goes underneath Caroline or EA, everything else. Devin Holmes, he's over our field support and our service desk. And then again, Paul Smith, you'll stand up real quick, program director over BIZ, my deputy director, David Godes, and Russ Nichols, Tom's project director. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about corrections, because the reason why we have this slide up here is maybe some of you guys think that all we do is get an inmate, they come in, we put them in a cell, and that's maybe basic understanding of what you think corrections is. That's not what we're about. And one of the things that you have to have is you've got to have a strong vision statement that resonates. So making California safer through correctional excellence. Does that resonate with anybody in here? And the reason why it should, and I'll tell you why. Because the inmates will eventually get out. Not all of them, but a lot of them will get out. And they're coming home to a community near you, and they're coming home to your community. So you better care about our vision statement. You better care about what we're doing and what difference we're making. So I'm going to go back to that vision throughout the presentation. Making California what? Safer. So your mission talks about what business you're in. So we're going to protect the public by providing safe and secure facilities, prisons, making sure our staff are safe, making sure our inmates are safe. Now think about the Maslow hierarchy. You got to have what? Food and shelter before you can do anything else. You better have safe and secure prisons before you do anything else. That has to happen first. Once that happens, then you can provide the programs, the rehabilitative services, and you can do that in a successful way where they had the greatest opportunity to go back to your communities and re-enter into those communities and be successful. So I think it's a very cool vision and mission statement. Now we have a business strategic plan, and we are very fortunate to have two IT goals that made it, which is kind of uncommon in a business plan. But in there you'll see down at the bottom, it's talking about giving our employees access to the collaborative tools that they need to do their jobs. We're going to talk about that a little bit more and some of the things that we've done and some of the things that we're still working on. Very important. The next one talks about, and I'm sure most departments can relate to this, a lot of old legacy systems. We need to replace our old legacy systems with mission-critical, state-of-the-art enterprise applications. You have to do that, especially when you're talking about a department our size and our geographical areas. And by doing that, we're going to improve what? We're going to improve access to data and end up making better informed decisions and better ability to measure. Very critical. Now, there's a lot of information on these slides. I'm not going to read them all. I'm sure that you'll be able to kind of catch through these. Every business plan has to have a strategic plan according to SAM. I've never met them, but I think that's your state administrative manual. So with ours, we have 6 of them. We want to manage IT as an enterprise asset. You have to. We're talking about resources, we're talking about equipment, assets, we're talking about investment decisions. You have to manage it at the enterprise level. We want to make sure our infrastructure and applications are secure, they're available, they're robust, and they're flexible. And I'll show you a little bit later on why we have to do that. You got to make sure your systems and applications, same thing. Now, we have to protect and secure our assets, information and data. Think about corrections. We have employee data, we have correctional peace officer data, we have healthcare data, we have victims data, and we have education data. I would think that you would all agree that all that is very critical information that we need to secure and protect. You have to have a sustainable support model, which is what Devin's shop is for. Think about corrections, wherever spread, the amount of facilities we have. Half of my IT organization, the IT positions are out in the field. If you don't have a sustainable IT service delivery model, you're not going to succeed. You're going to have all kinds of stuff out of sync, everybody doing their own thing, no economies of scale. Obviously, we have an IT green component. We want to reduce our carbon footprint. We want to reduce our power consumption. Those are just good, common things to do. And we have some strategies that we're focusing on that. The last thing, it doesn't mean that it's not the most important thing, is we have to have a robust workforce. We still get things done through people, and that will never change. And so we have to make sure our people have the tools, the training. We also have to have a mature enterprise architect program that really looks at our technologies. Which ones are we containing? Which ones are we mainstreaming? Which ones are we really going to decommission? And which ones are coming on board? And how do we tie that into the timing of where we change and how we develop them to support our systems? Very critical. Now, these are interesting facts. So I would like you to kind of just pause a little bit, because I'm going to rank some numbers off at you. And sometimes if you go so fast, they don't mean anything. But just kind of think about it. Over 50,000 employees, good size organization. I got 624 IT positions. The budget at corrections is about $8.7 billion. My budget, operating budget, is about $118 million. Over the last several years, we've had a portfolio over $800 million, and we'll talk about some of that. Almost 30,000 peace officers, 120 plus thousand inmates, and we'll talk about that number. Over 50,000 parolees, 700 juveniles. That's a pretty large footprint. Our major program areas, obviously, adult institutions, parole, juvenile justice programs, rehabilitative services, victim services. We have a large facility division. Very diverse in what we do. Keep those in mind. Now, CDCR, 34 prisons up and down the state. Those are like many little cities, self-contained. They have all of the services, laundry, recycling, fire departments, you name it, all the things that need to occur in those environments, anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 plus that are sitting out in those facilities. That's pretty large. Our facilities are designated as level 1 through 4. Level 1 and 2 are basically open dorms. Level 3 and 4 are more of the security, higher risk. So without hitting your neighbor, do me a favor and just put your arms out 180 degrees. All right? Can you see your hands? All right? Now, be really careful and go to 270. Can you still see your hands? Right. So we have 180 and 270 style housing units. You know why? Just like in project management. What you don't measure, you don't manage. What you can't see, you can't manage. There's a reason why our institutions are 180 and 270. You have to be able to have eye contact and see. 124 parole offices in 60 different locations. 3 juvenile facilities throughout the state. We have 13 adult community facilities. Really, these are our reentry hubs It's kind of the final destination that really prepares them to re-enter into their communities when intensive treatment that occurs there in program services, very critical. 44 fire camps and 2 juvenile camps. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. Now, right here, you can see the pointer. Take a look at these numbers. 44 million square feet of facilities, 25,000 acres, 56 million square feet of roofing. That's a lot. So I tried to do some math and try to calculate on this number up here how many football fields that would fit in there. It was over 700. And then we have 3 out-of-state facilities, Arizona, Mississippi, Oklahoma, over 8,000 inmates sitting there. Now, you guys have probably seen this, been out to our website, but you know what? We take for granted. But look at that. Top of Northern California, down to the base at Southern California, and prisons all the way up and down the state. That is a large geographical area to cover. You better manage IT as an enterprise. You better have a secure infrastructure. You better have enterprise applications. You better protect your assets and information. You better have a sustainable support model in place. You better give tools and collaborative tools to the people, and you better improve your access to data. It all ties back together. This is an interesting slide. 30,000 plus admissions last year. 60-some-odd% came from Southern California, 10% came from the Bay Area. You can see that, how the map correlates to that, where the institutions are. Now, I wanted to put some pictures up here just in case you haven't seen some of our institutions. This is our oldest prison, San Quentin, 1852. You know when the Civil War started? After this. It's a pretty old prison. You know why it was designed? Military fort design. Pretty cool. Folsom. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I was out there, and I was actually in the auditorium where Johnny Cash held his concert. There wasn't a bad seat in the house. I'm not sure why this has taken so long. Okay. Now, what's cool about this prison, it's still in the 1800s, but it was really one of our first maximum security prisons. But the reason why this site was selected is because of the American River, as you know, runs right by it for water. And because of the land, it had so much of the natural granite out there, it was used to build the prison. This prison, Pelican Bay, way in the top, California at the top. This is our maximum security prison. About half of the inmates are in general pop. The other half are in what we call the security housing unit, SHU. SHU, basically, you're 23 hours in the cell and 1 hour you're out. These are not the most well-liked inmates that are up there. They're up there for a reason. They're in the SHU. A lot of it is gang-related, protection, other types of things to where they can't be in the general population. Now, what I want to talk a little bit about here, this is kind of like expanding your awareness and maybe going a little bit deeper. On any given day, we have over 600 plus inmates on vans and buses going up and down the state. They're coming into our reception centers, they're going to one of the institutions, or they're being moved to an institution. 1.3 million miles we did last year. Fire camps. I mentioned 42 fire camps, over 200 crews that are working those. And they work with CAL FIRE. Isn't that not a community service that they provide? These people are well trained and go through a lot of training. And when they're not fighting fires, they're clearing paths, doing weed abatement, planting bushes, all kinds of other activities out there for the community. Education. 88 academic and 48 technical career vocation training classes in all of our institutions, over 3,500 inmates on a given month. Going back to school, getting their high school diploma, getting their GED, getting a vocational certificate, or even taking college classes. I've always believed that education is one of the greatest equalizers. If you have education, it increases your chances of probably getting a job. You increase your chances of getting a job, you probably don't offend. If you don't offend, then what do you have in California? A safer California. Now, We all know this. If you don't have your health, you don't really feel like doing much of anything else. Last year, we spent over $2 billion on medical, mental, and dental. This year, we just opened up one of the largest facilities down in Stockton, about $1 billion state-of-the-art healthcare facility, correctional healthcare facility, will house over 1,700 inmates for specific medical purposes and needs. You have to be healthy. You have to take care of yourself, or you're not going to be able to do anything else. Rehabilitation. In 2004, it was CDC. In 2004-05 fiscal year, it was CDCR. They put the R in with emphasis on the R, rehabilitative. We spent a lot of money on programs and treatment. When you come in, you get a risk and needs assessment. When you come to the institution, you get a risk and needs assessment. When you go out on parole, you get a risk and needs assessment, and that occurs. And that really allows you to make sure that you are getting the right treatment and you're getting it at the right time. Very critical. And if you do that on parole and you look over here, and I'm sorry, all thumbs. Look at right here. Just read this for me a little bit here. Going pretty fast. Employment training, literacy programs, outpatient treatment, employment management, anger management, money management, reuniting with your family, all kinds of things that help you successfully go back into your communities to make California safer. Very, very important to have the R in CDC. Very critical. Now, I'd be remiss not to mention victims. We have over 2,500 calls every month from victims reaching to our victim services, asking for assistance and help. And we collected $28 million last year in restitution. Since 1992, $240 million. And there's two types. You have a direct order, which means you did something to me, and there's a restitution. Or you have a fine, which means you did something to society. That money gets collected, goes to the Victim Compensation Fund, and then it gets drawn out of. Now, the reason I bring this up a little bit, because 2000 wasn't that long ago. When you thought about corrections, you really didn't think about technology. You go back not too long ago, we had hardly any network connectivity. No really WAN to speak of, just a few connections outside of headquarters. We had basically disparate, standalone applications, no enterprise applications, a bunch of stuff that was done in skunk works and probably developed by correctional officers from a heroic standpoint that needed to get something done now. Most of our stuff was all business process, papers, not very efficient. No really email, probably less than a couple thousand people that had email. No true internet access, which is unheard of today. Very basic rudimentary security. Not that long ago. Fast forward to today, over 45,000 different kinds of endpoint devices. We have over 2,000 people remotely coming into our network. Over 190 circuits, but what's more important than that is it's a state-of-the-art wide area network, MPLS network, and we partnered with the Federal Receivership on that. You wouldn't think that we have 138 IT systems and applications. We do. Totally interwoven in all the business processes. 38,000 email users. Data sharing. We didn't do any data sharing way back then. We have all kinds of data sharing agreements with the county, state controllers, DOJ, state hospitals, and we're continuing to look at ways how we more efficiently can share and exchange information. We have one of the largest SharePoint installations of over 35,000, and we use it for all kinds of purposes, which Davu will talk about that a little bit later. That kind of sets the stage on what we've been doing, and all of a sudden, in 2011, which I'm sure you've heard of AB 109, Public Safety Realignment, changed everything. And what this really was about is several things. One is we had a lot of inmates that were coming in and serving very little time, and then getting back out, and then coming back in, getting back out, coming back in, revolving door. So you're thinking about rehabilitative services, and I'm going to make sure you get the right program services at the right time, how am I going to do that very effectively? You're not there long enough. It's a revolving door. Those people were not in the communities where they're going back to and getting the local services from their communities. Also, how many, you go into a restaurant, right? And you'll see a little sign with a number on it. What does that little number mean in a restaurant? Maximum capacity. Well, we far exceeded our maximum capacity in the prisons. So, as you probably know, there's a 3-judge panel. They set our capacity at 137. That gives us about, I think, 110,000 inmates that we're supposed to hit. If you look at the second bullet down there, now nobody got out early. Nobody got released. Everybody did their time. What really happened is that there's a whole penal code of law that says if you do this, then you stay in the county local jail level. And if you do this, you go through your revocation process through the local probation office. If you do this, then you come to state prison. Shifting on low-risk, nonviolent type of offenders, because you have this kind of revolving door, so why not put them in the local communities where they were going to get the best chance of re-entering with the treatment right there? Makes common sense. 60,000 we had people that were violating parole prior to realignment. 65,000 people were coming in new. Remember the slide before? It was 33,000 that came in. So that's how you can see the population is dropping. Now what this did, it's probably the largest business transformation from a correctional entity in the United States. This is changing our business model. So we now are right-sizing our prisons, making them safe. We're going to make sure now the inmate's there for more than the 90-day period and in and out. So now I have a chance to make sure that I do the right needs and assessment, understand what your needs are, and I make sure what the right timing of what those needs are. Makes sense. So it changes our model, changes how we deliver, and it makes our prisons safe and gives us the right capacity. These two charts kind of show that to you. Shows you the high of our population, and it shows you our population declining. Down to about 120 right now. High was about 160 something. Our parole, almost 95,000 in parolees, down to 50,000 now of parolees. Significant reduction in population. That changes how you deliver services in your business model and creates all types of opportunities from a technology perspective. Now, given this transformation and given that you've seen kind of the evolution of where we're gone from IT, you better have a strong IT governance model in place in order to make decisions. This governance process is made up of all of our directors. At my level, and we sit and we meet on a monthly basis. So we talk about priorities, we talk about funding, we talk about resources, all the things that you would do in a governance model that everybody tries to implement, and then it's hard to sustain it. We've been very successful in this model because now what we do is we make sure instead of cutting deals with each individual program area, it all has to be presented with all the directors present. Everybody has an understanding of where we're going with technology as a whole, and they have to agree and buy into the funding model. Very critical. And then we also have a process that deals with project selection. So you got to make sure that it's tied to the strategic plan, it's tied to our realignment blueprint plan, it's either tied to a court order, it's tied to all kinds of regulations, policies. Is there a return on investment? Is there program efficiencies? You name it, a pretty extensive process that we go through before we approve anything. Finally, which I think this is kind of a cool slide, but it's a very busy slide. This is our EA program. And we've made significant strides in our EA program where our enterprise architecture now is interwoven in all of our kind of critical decision points. So when we look at our standards, when we look at our procurement, when we look at our project selection, when we look at reuse, time to market, all those things, our EA comes into play. Now what's cool about this, our EA framework is based off of NASIO. So over here, you'll kind of see you got 5 maturity levels. Over here, you'll see the actual architect domains, business, application, performance. That's over here. And then you got areas with each one of those that you're measuring. What's cool about this slide is this shows you from 09 to 14 where we've matured and then where are the focus areas that we're focusing on. One of the big things we're going to focus on this year is work with the other CIOs from the other state departments of corrections and looking at trying to create a correctional domain within the NEAM framework. I think that would be pretty cool, and it will allow us all to better share information. Now, I wanted to set the stage a little bit before I turn it over to David. I wanted to try to kind of walk you through that corrections is more than just putting somebody into a housing unit, that we do a lot of emphasis on trying to give treatment and services. We're trying to right-size our prisons, and we're trying to make sure that we have the best opportunity that when somebody comes back into your communities, that they can re-enter those communities and be successful, because in the end, we all want what? A safer what? California. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to David, and he will take you on a technology path.